SiftPop podcast is recorded in front of a live internet audience. Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, just 15 miles away from the birthplace of Jason Bourne, it's SiftPop.
That's true.
It is. I saw it again in the new Jason Bourne movie. His birth certificate, his birth certificate was on there and it said born in Nixa, Missouri, which, by the way, can we just start with this? There's no hospital in Nixa, Missouri.
Is the closest one Cox South?
Yeah, the closest one is in Springfield.
That means that we could go walk through the halls right now.
It was a home. It was a home birth.
That's probably it.
That's right. Yes,
it
was
probably
a doula.
was an amazing, really incredible,
That's probably
strong
true.
birth. Because he's such a strong person. It's part of his character
I'm
building.
sure it will be the mystery that centers, Bourne 6 will be around his home birth with a doula.
Yeah.
While under gunfire.
Such an incredible start to the podcast. This is what you guys got me here for. You guys normally talk about movies, and here I come. Hey, guys, home births.
Listen, I've already got the name. The Bourne Gestation.
Oh. No.
The Bourning.
Bourne was born. Born again. Born again. There it is. It's Born Again. That's what it
Starring
is.
Jeremy Renner.
Amazing. Well, welcome to SiftPop with Aaron, Andrew, and Danae, streaming live on Mixlr every Friday or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, we'll be joined by a pop culture guru to chat about movies, television, whatever else is on our minds.
Except this week.
Well, now that Andrew's a permanent member, the gurus I think will kind of come in and out, and none of them were available this week, so it's the three of us,
Let's
which I kind of like.
You'll have to settle for me, people.
We sent out guilt emails to all of the gurus.
We did.
Shame.
Needless to say, a few of them off the Christmas card list.
That's true. We have a list on our whiteboard. The Christmas list of gurus. There are black marks through a few names.
Yes.
So please welcome, if you would, from Flick Freaks, it's Andrew Armsby!
Ahoy!
And our what shall we call it, pop culture ambassador. She doesn't necessarily partake in the country of pop culture.
Such a good title.
But she loves to bridge that culture. It's Ambassador Danae.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And I'm Aaron Dicer. I do movie reviews at yourmoviefriend.com.
What are we calling you?
Captain Aaron works.
You are waiting.
Yeah, at least he didn't say president or emperor or anything like that.
That's true. He didn't even pretend to pause.
Yeah.
He's just like,
I'm the captain now.
Thank you for asking.
I'm the captain now.
I am the captain.
All right. Well, speaking of
Almighty Aaron,
Paul Greengrass, who directed Captain Phillips, by the way, he directed the movie we're talking about today, Jason Bourne. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the adaptation of the graphic novel Preacher. That is really coming to a conclusion of its first, I think they're doing a 10-episode run for the first season. So we'll chat a little bit about that. And, of course, we'll have our buried treasure at the end as well. But we like to start with a little thing we call Do We Care? This is where Ambassador Danae will read some pop culture headlines, and we'll decide if it's something that we want to talk about. So
this title, 2 weeks after its release, Ghostbusters has yet to make back its production budget. Do we care?
So care.
I kind of care. Why do you vehemently care, Andrew?
For the simple fact that it's such a mirror of the original Ghostbusters,
sure.
A low-budget film that skyrocketed in just that huge gross of, return that movie saw. And the fact that they spent $144 million on this one.
Yeah.
And I think it's accrued $30 million so far. That is detrimental.
Yeah. And considering what they wanted to do was to create a Ghostbusters expanded universe and have this whole, series of movies. I think
that's what I was going to ask you guys is what you felt their downfall was.
Female cast, and I still think that no, I shouldn't say that.
I was going to say, man, I'll fight you about that one. I'm not
fighting.
I'm not saying
I'm
for
the
me.
Ambassador.
Okay,
no fighting.
No, because we had this argument. Not for me, for a huge portion of culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and me, we like the movie.
Yeah,
we thought it was
true,
pretty
you guys
good.
did.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, and for the simple fact, and I think this was really its huge detriment. Whenever you try and you remake something so iconic as Ghostbusters, you're going to get a lot of flack for it.
I think that's more of the reason.
I read...
I do agree with you.
I think that's the major
I probably should have
reason.
led with that one.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Grace. This was part of the article. As we reported some time ago, this is from entertainment.ie, by the way. As we reported some time ago, Ghostbusters wasn't screened in China, the world's second largest film market, due to a strict propaganda law. So do you think that had something to do with it? Because it also, the fact that Ghostbusters doesn't have much of a cultural impact there, do you think that's part of the reason why it didn't bring in what maybe other movies could, because it wasn't screened in the second largest market?
Well, overseas grosses are having more and more to do with the success of films now.
I was about to ask you, I think it's 50% domestic and then 50% global.
Which is so different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
It was like 85% domestic.
And so you're seeing movies that you go, like here in the States, you go like, why did that get a sequel? And it's because you don't realize how much money it made overseas. Like for instance, and actually I'm glad this one is getting a sequel because I kind of enjoyed the first one. Pacific Rim is like that. Pacific Rim was a flop in the US though. It really did not do a lot of domestic box office, but overseas it was a hit. I think a huge hit.
Well, especially it's a kaiju film, so in the Asian market that movie is going to destroy, because yes, they love their kaiju movies, but they also love what Western culture can do with CGI and how realistic. So if you combine the two, that movie is going to kill overseas.
Yeah, and it did, and so that's why we're getting a sequel, and I love that. I love that can happen, and I think it's a better look at the pop culture taste of our world too. So you can feel a little bit put off by that you're seeing more and more movies use a more and more diverse cast from all over the world. You're seeing more and more diverse themes and diverse settings. And that can maybe put you off because it's not, your world necessarily. But I love it. I think it's a great way to, just kind of embrace what pop culture means, not just here in the U.S., but,
And the domestic market for Pacific Rim was all me, pretty much, because I went and saw the movie a lot. It's one of my favorite mouth breather movies, where you just turn off your brain, you go, giant robots, giant monsters.
Here's the thing, though. People don't give that movie enough credit that there's some depth there. There is some depth there about cooperation and working together. That is, I know it's intentional. There are too many lines and too many things that happen. It's about relationships, about people working together, fathers and
clearly
and sons
it's important
and
to you because
siblings, and
you've kept it in your mind all this time instead of launching it into space.
I can't believe we're talking about Pacific Rim. Let's go back to Ghostbusters.
Actually, let's go to the next one for the next. Do we care? Do we care that Star Trek Beyond will not have any additional scenes on the DVD Blu-ray?
I never watch them, so for me personally, it's not that huge of a deal.
I'm in the same boat. I used to. Were you a commentary person? Have you ever been a commentary person?
I'm a huge commentary person.
Yeah, so am I. And
me three.
And I used to love watching all the deleted scenes, all the stuff, listening to commentaries. And now that everything's digital, I just don't do it anymore.
Well, what's interesting is that even though films they'll release a DVD Blu-ray, they usually will have like blooper scenes, extra scenes, just something more for the fan to sink into. And I think what was commented on this one, which by the way, this is a clickbait. The title of this was Why Star Trek Beyond Doesn't Have Any Deleted Scenes.
Okay.
And the answer is
because everybody hated each other and nobody.
The movie's not out on DVD.
We were very surgical. It was a really tight schedule. The challenge became our friend at the end of the day. There were a couple of moments with Spock and Bones that I ended up taking out, but it's very slight. So everything you see in the film is pretty much what we shot. Meaning the reason that there aren't any extra is because there wasn't any
They don't have
extra.
anything to show you. Well, here's my thing with deleted scenes.
Clickbait.
Here's my thing with deleted scenes, and I think this is a great thing because I love outtakes, but outtakes and deleted scenes are two different things.
That's true.
Outtakes are funny.
I like outtakes.
Outtakes are a blast. But deleted scenes, and I think the industry is realizing this, are deleted
for a
reason. And when you give the audience that...
Maybe in some cases, but in the case of Lord of the Rings, there was such a love for that entire world.
But that was an expanded edition. That's a little different than deleted scenes.
But there were expanded editions, but there were also extras at the end of just things. Yeah. I don't remember if there was any deleted scenes in there. I would need to go just to double check because I can't speak for certain. I know that I watched like 20 plus hours of the making of.
Oh, that's making of again is a totally different thing too.
Love that.
And the fact that because I bought that for Christmas last year, I bought myself the expanded Blu-ray trilogy of the first three movies, and it's good.
It's good. It's really good.
Have you seen the Batman v Superman extended edition?
No,
I haven't taken the time to watch it either.
Everybody says it makes the movie better. I'm like, well, then they should have made that the real movie then.
That movie felt too long already. It's so weird to think of putting more in it could make it better, but
yeah,
and
strange.
And I'd be very critical.
On Do We Care? I'm actually going to do something a little different because Do We Care about Comic-Con? And we do all care about Comic-Con.
Yes.
But there's a lot of different news kind of things going on, and I thought maybe, Andrew, you might have some stuff to talk about for Comic-Con because I do care about what's going on.
Yeah, and
I can talk about what I thought about the trailers. Aaron, you can talk about all of the other stuff that you noticed coming out.
Well, I think the trailers are pretty much the big thing, and I actually posted a Twitter rant on trailers because our hashtag zero frames.
I wouldn't say
policy.
Yeah, you're saying R.
Yeah,
but you can't say R anymore because Andrew's not that way.
That's true. That's true.
You can't speak for all of the SiftPop anymore.
Yeah. Anyways, so I did go on a Twitter rant about that. Having said that, I'm not against pre-marketing movies. I'm not against letting people know who's in them, what the tone might be, those kind of things. I'm just against ruining the context of actual frames of film that serve a story purpose and now are being used for a marketing purpose. Rant over. Let's talk about the trailers that came out at Comic-Con.
So for me personally, there were 5 trailers that stuck out above the rest. And I'm going to go from least anticipated to most anticipated.
I like this.
I'm not going to spend too much time on them because we actually got to get to the meat and bones of this podcast.
No worries.
So the one that, I'm going to say this, they're all really good. I will say that.
Okay.
So the one that at the bottom of my list is Guy Ritchie's new movie, King Arthur.
Okay.
So it's going to have Charlie Hunnam, who was in Pacific Rim.
Yep.
You're also going to have Damon Hansu, who was one of my favorite actors. That guy's so good. And just imagine Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels about King Arthur.
Imagine Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels about King Arthur. I was doing my own trailer
Lock,
there.
Stock, and Two Smoking Excaliburs. There you go.
There you go.
So
Guy Ritchie doing an Arthur movie. That's
and you know
interesting.
what? It looks really interesting because it definitely has that Sherlock feel to it.
Okay.
But it's also set in a supernatural world. So this is going to be interesting because, Guy Ritchie also finds himself with movies where he likes to ground it within reality.
Do you usually like Guy Ritchie movies?
Love Guy Ritchie
Okay,
movies.
cool.
Love Guy Ritchie's. So next up, we're going to have these...
And that's your least anticipated?
Yes.
Okay.
Next up, we have the second trailer for Doctor Strange.
Okay. Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Marvel movie?
Yes. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of all these movies. I just had to rank them.
Okay.
So... I was
because some people
stoked.
have that impulse,
exactly
to rank things.
Yeah, Aaron and I are addicted
Most
to
people who love
things.
pop culture have that impulse, and you have discovered this with every single person that comes in on
true.
our show.
It's
like
your common
everybody
DNA.
wants to talk. Yeah,
rank things.
Yep.
So, I'm super stoked for this movie to come out. Cannot wait. And the more I see about it, the more I get excited for it. I'm seeing more of. The first trailer showed us, how serious and cool this movie is going to be. But this movie...
Doctor Strange? Oh. Or are you on to the next one?
No, this is still Doctor Strange.
Okay, yeah.
But this one, it showed that there actually is going to be some lighthearted humor in it that we do see in the Marvel universe that really sets them apart.
I think at this point, Marvel has kind of attained Pixar status for me, which is I'm just on board. Whatever you're going to show me,
no wrong.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it comes from movie after movie after movie, just having a great movie going experience, and so I think that just kind of adds up over time.
And also the fact that if you do know the lore about Doctor Strange,
which I don't,
it's a fascinating story, and he is arguably the most powerful character in a comic, Yeah.
Wow.
But obviously they're going to have to tone him down for the movies otherwise.
Cool. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, we have Wonder Woman.
Okay. Now this is
No,
one...
I take that back. Sorry.
Okay.
We're going to go with the Justice League movie.
Okay, all right.
They did show the Justice League movie, and technically wasn't a trailer. It was just, footage from the movie.
So here's what I hear about Justice League, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on this about the trailer. This is what the buzz has been. Oh, look at who's trying to be Marvel now.
Yeah, because Man of Steel and BVS were such dark, gritty, serious.
Well, that's always been the thing. The Nolanization, the Zack Snyder thing.
Yeah. This one does have a light-hearted feel to it. There's jokes being thrown around. Ezra Miller, who's going to be playing...
The Flash, right?
He's going to be playing the Flash, Barry Allen. He looks like he's going to be hilarious. And yes, I'm still one of those guys who is upset that Grant Gustin's not going to be playing the Flash, but Honestly, I think Ezra Miller's going to do a really good job.
Forgive me, who's Grant Gustin?
He's the Flash in the CW series.
Oh, okay, yeah. He should absolutely be in the movie, too.
Yes.
That blows my mind that they wouldn't do that. I mean, do they really just think he's not a good enough actor to pull it off?
What if it's contractual stuff?
It might be.
People own people.
Yeah.
And there's different agencies, and
Warner
that's what I'm
and
assuming
CW
it
are two different entities, maybe.
I think that Warner Brothers could buy out CW if they wanted to.
That's true.
But,
That's probably true.
Because, I hate to say this, it's what Marvel does. They have a universe that goes from Netflix to Fox to their movies. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
And I just wish that DC had done that too.
Yeah.
Next up is Wonder Woman.
Now, this is the one I've heard the most about. I thought it would be your number one. Everybody is raving about the look of this movie.
This is going to be the saving grace of the DC universe.
You think so? She was the
anything,
best part about Batman versus Superman.
She was.
One of the best parts, yeah.
And a movie centered around her because not a lot of people, everybody loves Wonder Woman. This is an origin story I am stoked for.
Okay.
Because A, not a lot of people know about it. B, it's a really good story. And the way that it looks like it's shot, her meeting Chris Pine.
But maybe it won't be okay.
But
is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
as the ambassador.
As the ambassador. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's called devil's advocate.
I don't think they could have cast anybody better than Gal to play
Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
I liked her in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, she's really good.
But because
gorgeous, she was terrifying.
I hadn't watched any trailers, so I had no idea that was going to be Wonder Woman.
She was going to be in it.
Well, I didn't even know who that. Like, I saw her and I was like, "Oh, cool, who's that?" And I had no clue. Even that she had really beautiful plated golden jewelry, which is a nod to her suit. And I remember being really captivated by her clothing and how she was dressed really.
I'm curious.
Well.
Do you think that they over sexualized her suit? Because I think they actually toned it down from that.
No,
the patriotic, even though she's not American,
I think
suit that they had her in.
I didn't get that
At this point,
sense.
for me, over sexualized.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with
is...
it, but I've heard people say that she was still over sexualized by the top cut off and the short shorts. I'm like, have you ever seen a Wonder Woman comic where it's way worse?
That's first of all how she's drawn, and second, she looks she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah,
the actress herself.
It's not like it's any different for the men.
I think
they have skin tight suits on their torsos, and
that's true.
Would have added in implants or something crazy,
right?
To make her breasts huge.
Yeah, I think if they would have animated her up like that, I would have been more offended. But I thought they just enhanced her beauty.
Well, and it sounds like
it made it fierce.
Yeah, and that brings me to what I was about to say, which it sounds like they're starting to really get the character of Wonder Woman in kind of the essence of who she is with with this character, as far as the strength of the woman planet that she comes from, the Amazon planet that she comes from, and just all the things that make her who she is. And so it's not just about a chick with a lasso.
Did you know that? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say. Did you know? I heard something that I think is true.
What's
but
that?
It's still, this is a little bit crazy, but Amazon women used to cut off their left breast so that they could, or right breast, whatever, to be able to shoot bows and arrows better and fight better. And it was part of what Amazon meant. Is it was they were warring women who would actually mutilate their bodies so that they could actually war better.
That does sound familiar.
Isn't it sound familiar? I just recently
cannot confirm or deny.
I'm not going to take the time to Snopes it right now, but I will say,
isn't that intense?
I will say both wow, amazing, and also
no.
Yeah.
No.
Final trailer.
Can I guess?
Trailer from
Can I guess your number one?
Yes.
I want to guess too.
All right. Why don't you guess first?
Really?
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Okay. My guess is Kong Island.
Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island. Yeah.
What about the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy?
I really want you to put your no frames pledge on hold to see this trailer, because oh my gosh, this movie is going to be so amazing. I'm just going to list off the cast.
I want to see it in the theater. See, that's the thing. I want to see that grandeur and the thing that people are talking about. I hear they're setting up kind of a Godzilla King Kong expanded universe.
2019 Godzilla is going to fight King Kong.
Yeah.
And
so I love that. And I love if it's the same feel. I loved Godzilla. The new Godzilla they did, I thought was really good.
I think it was in my top 10 movies of that 2014.
So I'm excited. I think they've got a good thing going.
So before I just listen to this cast, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Fun.
Tom Hiddleston.
Absolutely great.
Brie Larson.
The best.
Sam Jackson.
Awesome.
And John Goodman.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, they've set it up perfect. And the trailer, it had this Vietnam feel to it because it does take place early 70s, late 60s, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So it's actually taking place before Godzilla does.
So it's like a prequel.
Like a little bit of a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it's shot, the way that they move with the oranges and the reds and stuff like that.
Very Apocalypse Now kind of feeling.
Oh, it had such a Full Metal Jacket Apocalypse Now feel to it. And the really interesting thing about it was that people were really concerned that King Kong, because everybody's thinking about the Peter Jackson movie, there's no way Kong is going to be big enough to fight Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, yeah, he is. So, yeah.
That's great.
Definitely my number one. Comic-Con this year was phenomenal. And, of course, they showed all the Netflix stuff like Defenders and Iron Fist and Luke Cage.
I think that's about all we need to do to talk about Comic-Con. I will add one piece of news that seems to me to be above the rest and maybe something we just want to touch on before we go on.
That Groot is coming back?
Baby Groot. No, that is not the piece of news. You mentioned Brie Larson. And the announcement of her casting as Captain Marvel
she's going to be Captain Marvel.
Is just perfect.
I honestly don't think they could have got anybody better.
No. And just, again, Rumble, I give them credit. They're putting out great movie after great movie. And Danae, you're right. I'm excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, to see what they do with that universe next. And I'm just excited to see where it all goes. I'm excited to see where the Avengers go with the Infinity Stones and all that stuff and finally get into more of the Thanos stuff. And
I have no idea who Brie Larson is.
Okay, so she won an Oscar. Didn't she win the Oscar this year?
For Room.
Didn't see it.
Okay, so yeah.
That
she's
movie
great.
will make you cry.
That's for sure.
I haven't seen anything that she's in.
Go ahead, list them.
Captain Marvel 2019, Kong Skull Island 2017, The Glass Castle, Free Fire, all of those are here. And then they've got Room, Trainwreck, Digging for Fire, The Gambler, Community, Curls Show. I haven't seen any of that.
I don't remember, Community, the show?
The TV show Community?
So it looks like TV series.
Brie Larson was in Community?
She may have had
Rachel.
Maybe just
she
like a cameo.
3.
That's interesting. She's fairly
maybe
new.
On Amazon whenever I didn't watch Community.
She's fairly new on the scene, but she's just kind of blown up because she's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
So they have her right at the perfect time.
Oh, she was also in Scott Pilgrim. I think that was one of her first.
It seems like her face is super familiar. Did I not go down far enough? You guys, Scott Pilgrim came out in 2010.
Yeah.
That was 6 years ago.
It's been a minute.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, now I know who she is.
There you go.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Marvel cut themself off a nice slice of brie.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be doing good.
Cheese jokes.
I'm sorry, was that joke a little too cheesy? Was it a little too cheesy, guys?
Get me
out of
here.
A little too cheesy?
Abort.
Ah, yes.
Love that theme.
A little bit of Moby for you. This is the first Bourne,
Moby
right?
did that?
Moby did this song. Yeah.
I did not know that. Now that you say it, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, but it's been in every Bourne movie since then, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's Bourne's theme song.
It can't be changed. It's perfect. And Moby does make perfect sense. That blew my mind.
Yeah. So, by the way...
Did not know that. You learn something new every day, kids.
14 years ago was the Bourne Identity.
Mm-hmm.
14 years ago.
And he hasn't aged a day.
No, he has aged. Actually, that was part of this movie, was they had like a flashback, and he looks so much younger, and I was like, oh, wow, he actually, he has aged since then.
But not 14 years worth, I would say. Well, he looks...
When you're a super spy, I think aging goes a little bit different. So we're going to chat a little bit about Jason Bourne, the new movie in the Bourne franchise. This is a franchise that was started by Tony Gilroy with Matt Damon in the Bourne Identity, then handed over to Paul Greengrass as director for the second two movies, which many consider to be the best movies in the franchise. And then handed back to Tony Gilroy, kind of as a slap in the face to Paul Greengrass, because he wouldn't do another one.
Yeah.
And
with Jeremy Renner.
And now we're on to the fifth one, and Greengrass is back, Matt Damon is back, Tommy Lee Jones is in it, Alicia Vikander is in it as well, and we are coming back to Bourne, and once again, he's got a mystery to figure out about his past and who he is. And that's kind of the essence of all these movies, is him figuring out who he is as a person. We like to start off with just really simple, did you like it, love it, it was okay, disliked it, hated it. And as usual, Ambassador Danae will kind of play ambassador here. She
That's
hasn't
correct.
seen the film, but both Andrew and I have. Andrew, what do you think?
I liked it.
Yeah?
I liked it.
I as well liked it. I have to tell you, I'm right between it was okay and liked it. So I'm probably a little bit lower than you.
I'm definitely not going to say I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm above okay. So I'm going to stick with I liked
That's
it.
a little disappointing to hear.
Yeah, why is that?
I liked the first ones, but they're super intense. But they're one of the first movies where, the fight scenes cut out all music and it was just, fist to faces sounds. It kind of felt a little bit like Fight
Ultimatum
Club.
is hands down my favorite out of all of them.
And that's the third
yeah. Matt Damon one.
Yeah. I actually would agree with that. Ultimatum is a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
And what I always loved about these movies is they combined real intense visceral action with a real thought-provoking plot. Like, not just in the the content or the themes, but I also mean in the way they brought you through it and figured out the story. Yeah.
In a mystery from the beginning. But what's interesting about this movie is that it is following all these, this time in the series. So I'm hoping that, you guys said you liked it, which means, maybe they kind of
and I'm
hit
not
the
hoping
main points.
I say I liked it because I'm such a fan of this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I actually did just like the movie for itself.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about it then, since you liked it a little bit more than me? Talk about the things you liked. Let's start there.
First off, Matt Damon, he just, no pun intended, he kills this role. He is so good.
I spied that myself.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He is just, from first Identity all the way here to Jason Bourne, he knows this character through and through, even though the character doesn't really know himself. And the fact that he can bring it every single time, and whenever you see him on screen, you go, that's not Matt Damon, that's Jason Bourne, just speaks to, because that's hard for AAA actors. Like, most of the time you're like, oh, that's Tom Hanks on screen, or oh, that's Christian Bale. But whenever they know what they're doing, you forget that that's Tom Hanks or Christian Bale or Matt Damon on screen. And I think he does it in this movie.
I agree. I was having that conversation with somebody just recently about the difference between an actor who plays himself in every movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like some actors, like Kevin Costner was that way. Costner basically played Costner in every movie he was in, but he was great. Field of Dreams is great. Like, he's been in some great performances, even though he's basically playing the same dude. Yeah. There are a couple exceptions to that, by the way. Costner does do a couple character acting things in a movie here or there, but I mean, but I think for the most part. And then there are other actors who are able to, kind of morph into these other characters. Matt Damon has always struck me as the kind of actor who plays Matt Damon in his movies, and here he really is Jason Bourne, and there's a slight difference there. So I actually, I hear what you're saying.
I read something really interesting, and you guys kind of referenced it when we first started chatting about it before Aaron kind of went into the basics. But the director said, he said to Matt, look, if the movie starts and you look like you've lived well for the past 10 years, then we have no movie. You have to look like you've suffered. And the only way to do that is to suffer. And Matt Damon was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So he had to get back into the gym. He was 29 when he first played Jason. Now he's 45.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that even though Matt knows his character in and out, he also knew in and out. He had to go back through what he had to go through to get into that character again. Mm-hmm. That stuff blows my mind because you're giving away parts of your life as an actor or an actress.
That's what they do. Yeah.
You're handing over your body and your perspective and everything to someone to mold and shape so that it fits into their movie category.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to lie, you just made me so mad.
Yeah.
The fact that you said that Matt Damon is 45 and he looks younger than me.
Yeah, he'd be the oldest one in the room.
He would be the oldest one in the room, but not by much.
That makes me feel...
By a lot. By a ton.
Oh, come on,
You'd be
Aaron.
so much older than me.
You're closer in age to Matt Damon than you are to me.
Stop it!
Oh, man.
Anyways, I thought that was a really interesting perspective. That came from Today.com on their pop culture section. And so...
Oh, that's 100% the case. And he does look battered and even tired. I think he's tired of running in this one. And it definitely shows in the way he's built this character.
And that's what I was talking about when you say, he doesn't look older. There is a tiredness to this role that I think serves the movie well. I will also say on the things that I liked, I thought Tommy Lee Jones was great.
It was one of the things I had down.
Alicia Vikander was great. So I thought the performances all around I thought were good. Now I'm getting some disagreement on Vikander, so we'll have that conversation.
Yes.
But I would rather I want to have this conversation first, which is what about Greengrass? How do you feel about the direction of this? Do you feel like he brought back what you loved about Ultimatum and Supremacy?
Oh, yeah.
Or okay.
For the simple fact that with Supremacy and Ultimatum, they definitely had that feel to it. And I'm not just talking about, the shaky cam or anything like that, which I actually think that they kind of pulled back a little bit in this one.
Oh, it's still there, though.
Oh, it's still there.
If you
Don't
get
me
motion
wrong.
sick, there may be some moments.
Yeah. But it just feels like a Bourne movie. And that's because Paul knows these movies. They're his lifeblood, even in a sense. And he just knows how to make these movies. And
I'm excited to
he's
see this one.
super good.
So, I think I really like having him back. He's one of my favorite directors.
Yeah, he's done Captain Phillips. He's done...
well, he did United 93, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That movie's so sad.
And in what he did with the second and third Bourne movies, I've always thought was incredible. I love his very realistic style. Here's my problem, and maybe I'll start getting into the negatives a little bit, and we can talk about Vikander as well.
Okay.
My problem is I feel like he moved this movie more towards Fast and Furious in some ways, where some of the action was so over the top and like ridiculous, and some of those car wrecks and chases and different things that happen. I won't spoil, any of the specifics, where I was just like, I don't know. I remember the violence and the action in the other movies being so grounded and so real, and in this one I felt like there was so much action. At some point it just became noise.
Yeah.
It just became noise on the screen, and I just wasn't impressed, and I was ready to, kind of get on to the next plot point.
100% agree with you on that.
Okay.
It's definitely more action film than spy thriller than what you saw in the other ones. Another thing, before we get into the cons, I just wanted to say,
sure,
really liked Vincent Cassel's character, or Cassell, however you pronounce it.
Okay, who's that?
He was the asset.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
And for the simple fact that, and this is kind of spoilerish, but I'm not giving too
don't
much
do it,
away.
Man. No spoilers.
But normally in the Bourne series, the assets, the people that he fights, they're just they don't have lines or anything. They actually gave this asset a backstory in this one.
Yeah.
And I thought he's one of my favorite. He's an amazing actor. I loved him in Ocean's 12. Mm-hmm. He was in Eastern Promises. He's an amazing actor. And whenever I heard that he was going to be in this movie, I was like, well, if he's going to be the asset, then they're actually going to have to give him, something to say. And I really liked him.
Yeah, I think he
really
does well. I think he does well as well. Danae, do you know what we're talking about when we say like the asset? An asset in a spy movie is like the person you can call to do the dirty work that isn't technically a part of your, association and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
Have you ever seen the Bourne films? Have you seen any of them?
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Okay.
So whenever they're like, you're
making
activated.
the call to the guy, yeah.
So yeah,
the hit guy that comes after him.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was really cool that they gave him a backstory in this as well.
Yeah.
So tell me what you didn't like about Vikander.
I thought she was monotone. She had no facial expressions.
But I thought that was purposeful. I thought that was a performance.
No, but honestly, it was just so I just couldn't buy it because coming straight off Ex Machina, the movie she did before this one, I thought she had more personality in Ex Machina where she played a robot.
No.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm planting my feet in the ground.
That's fine.
This
That's
is the
fine.
hill I'm going to die on right here. But no, I was not a fan of her performance at all.
Plot twist, she actually is the robot from Ex Machina
in this movie.
Yeah, they've actually combined the worlds. And,
Ooh.
Yes.
She is. No, and that's why I actually made that joke after the movie, right? And that was why I made that joke is I feel like her performance is very robotic. There's something very... to me, very steady and grounded about it that I thought was intentional. So I thought it was, a good performance by her. But, I guess it's because I've seen her in other things like, what was the Oscar bait last year with about the first transgender
the Eddie Redmayne movie?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called, but she was in that as well.
Yeah. She was nominated, I think, for that.
And she was very, her performance was very different.
She was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
I saw that one.
And so Danish Girl is
the
movie.
Danish Girl.
Yeah, that's what
right.
I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And so I know she has range, and so to see her pull it back like that, I thought was an intentional thing.
What about you, Aaron? What was one of the things you didn't like about the movie?
The tech stuff in this drove me crazy. The technology stuff.
It was beyond ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
Okay, that's frustrating. But you've talked about this in movies before. You don't mind like going into technology scenarios like in Minority Report, you know, kind of where it's like this interesting thing, but when it does not actually make any sense, like see-through screens really you hate.
Well, I mean, and if that's a part of the future, then fine. That's a specific thing. But for this, it's more along the lines of the stuff. And I think Mr. Robot has spoiled us because everything is so real about the technology in that movie, how they hack, all that kind of
stuff. You mean the TV show?
Sorry, yes. There's no difference anymore.
It's a movie. We felt like that about Stranger Things last week. Yeah, it was good.
But in this, it's just like things that would never happen. Computers do not work that way. One of the main things that bothers me are graphical interfaces, where they put this beautiful, like, you know, graphical interface on something that's happening inside the computer.
Bring up screen 4 and then a bunch of lights flash and explosions
it's just like,
and then screen 4.
It's like CSI
that's
stuff.
Wasted RAM. Like, nobody would program software to do that. Like, it's all internal. Let it be internal. You don't have to, like, there's no purpose to it. There's no purpose to it showing those things in that way. It doesn't help the user. It doesn't, it's not user-based. That kind of stuff just really annoys me.
Real time.
Yeah, it's just, so this movie is full of it. I mean, from beginning to end, that annoyed me in this movie.
There is one particular thing I'm going to talk about in spoilers, but yeah, I 100%. Another thing in this, every single Bourne movie, he gets another thing revealed about his past.
Right.
I was not a fan of what they were trying to go for in this one.
I agree, and one of the reasons I wasn't, you can tell me yours, I think it's too simple. I think this movie is just too simple.
Oh, you mean as far as like the complexity of his particular story?
Yeah.
Because that's what drives this content for me.
Right.
And that's why I'm in for so long, is it's a continued mystery. So that's a little bit of a bummer to hear. Doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it, because I do like the series and my husband is super excited to go.
Yeah, I felt like there was too much convenience, too much simplicity. And I missed what I loved about the other Bourne movies. Even the fourth one. I kind of like the fourth one more than a lot of people do.
Renner's.
Yeah, Renner's Bourne movie. And they all had that intellectual stimulation, and I just did not feel it in this one. And it left me wanting something that wasn't there. That's why I've been calling this one the Bourne mediocrity. That's Bourne.
That's kind of sad.
Jason Bourne.
Yeah. That's kind of sad. Well, you guys ready to move on to one more thing?
Yep.
Yeah, one more thing. What do you got, Andrew?
Let's see what I had. This does fit right into the anthology. Pretty much what I wrote down is the reason why it feels like it does and why it fits perfectly, even though it's not a perfect movie, is because Paul Greengrass and Matt Damon are just so perfect.
Yeah, they're good.
So
yeah,
they're like a marriage.
My one more thing kind of goes along with that. My one more thing is, despite not loving this movie and actually thinking it's the worst of the 5, I want more. Like, I still want more from this world, and I hope they make more, because I do love Greengrass, and I do think Damon is great as this character. So that would be my one more thing, is I actually would like to see some more sequels. So
wow.
Or the expanded universe. I thought the stuff they were doing with the expanded universe stuff was kind of cool.
I don't know. I feel like they should just put a cap on it and call it good.
Well, I know that
because you don't want to go out with your fans on a bad note. You don't want to make that one more movie that just sours the entire experience, because the thing that you have in this movie and other movies is you're watching not just the people progress and the story progress, like you're watching the actors progress. You're almost like paying homage to this franchise, and I don't spoil it.
I agree, but here's the thing. No Hollywood franchise ends on a good movie. They'll always make another one if they make a good one and it makes money.
Somebody has to stop them.
It always ends when there's a bad one.
As the ambassador of pop culture for the entire world, I'm telling you now, my goal is
we want our last bite to be good.
Yes, and
it's like when you save that last peanut and it's burnt or something. Yeah. You didn't realize it, and you throw it in your mouth, and it's like,
good example.
Why do I have to finish on that taste?
So did this have a burnt peanut taste for you?
That's
right. Cool. Well, I guess you would recommend this movie?
I'd still recommend it. We kind of trashed on it at the end, but there's still a lot of good things here.
I would, if you're a fan of the Bourne movies, yes, of course. I think you should see it.
Do you think it's something definitely need to see in the theaters?
I think you may have a disappointing experience. I do want that to be clear. I think many Bourne fans may have a disappointing experience with this. And if you're not a Bourne fan, I don't think there's a lot here for you.
Maybe, and that's another thing with the Bourne films. You can't just go and see one movie. You have to start from the beginning And that's even true in this one, I think. If you haven't seen a single Bourne movie, this is going to be a very confusing movie.
I think that's probably right.
So you would recommend it to a Bourne fan for sure.
Yeah.
A little iffy on the non-Bourne fan.
But with caution. Be aware you might be disappointed.
Violence level still the same?
I thought it was less violent, actually.
Toned back.
I thought it was toned back, yeah.
Okay.
I thought the violence was toned back. I thought the swearing was toned back. I thought it was a pretty light PG-13, yeah.
With as action-packed and crazy as this movie was, the violence and stuff was still... It doesn't make sense, sort of, now that I'm trying to say
the violence in the first Bourne movies was so visceral. Like, it was so hand-to-hand combat.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Andrew, did you
That's what the ambassador does, Danae. That's what the ambassador does.
That's right. I am so the right way that I influence you all to speak my words.
That's right.
So before, though, we go on to our buried treasure, in the chat, BDG brought up that Matt Damon has decided to take a year off of acting, and he just announced it yesterday on the Today Show. So I thought that was interesting because he wants to spend time with family. He's been doing a lot of movies and has one more coming out.
So here's something I've always wondered about. Maybe we can chat about this for just a second. Like when actors are making so much money, actors and actresses, when I say actors, I mean both genders usually. They're making so much money. They could obviously do this, right? Like they have so much put away if they're being smart. They don't have to. They can make one movie for $20 million and they won't have to work for a long, long time, right?
That's my assumption, but I don't know how much they have to pay for, their acting fees and
their agents and all that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole world we don't understand. So it surprises me that more of them don't do this, where they just take really like long hiatuses.
Well, they only have their youth for so long.
Well, that's true as well. I mean? Yeah.
As an actor, you have to. If you're a big time actor, you really have to think about pacing yourself. And he said, "I took a bunch of roles in a row. I've done 4 straight movies in a row, and I have one more to go. And after years of dragging them all over the world, he's
dragging who all over the world?
His family, his kids. Okay. Yeah. He's like, so he's going to give them a break. They're really good sports. They're great travelers, but I'm excited to finish this year of work and take a year off and be at their behest for once." I like to think that he this is his quote. be at their behest. Oh, Matt Damon. So
it makes me think of Rick Moranis. Do you remember Rick Moranis?
Yeah, another example of a dad who decided to completely turn his back on Hollywood.
And not just for a while, but just
this is a life decision.
Yeah, he just said, you know what, I don't want to act anymore. I want to be with my family, and I've made enough from this to support us and do all that kind of stuff. So I get thinking about that a lot of times. Like, what would I do? Like if all of a sudden I were famous enough of an actor that I'm pulling in $15 million for a movie or something, is it something I would want to keep doing? Well, let's say what we do, right? Like, even just doing podcasting, all of a sudden we have sponsors who are going to pay us, millions of dollars to do this.
Okay.
Would we, after we make the first 20 million, would we stop, or do we do it because we love it and we want to fill our time with it?
I would do it as long. I'm having
that's the other thing,
the time
right?
of my life.
Right. Yeah.
You actually had a tweet. You said, if I just had a revelation, if I realized that I would be doing exactly what I'm doing now.
If money weren't even an option.
Yeah,
if I were independently wealthy and I had to fill my time with some purposeful work,
so I feel like
I would be doing this.
The hope, I think, for me would be that these actors have that experience. They would be doing it no matter what because they love it. So if I was going to be making a large amount of money doing what I'm doing, I think I would just try to figure out a way to manage it and make possible for other people to be included in that stream of wealth.
Yeah. Kind of in the revenue stream.
I would employ people. I'm not talking about people to like massage therapy and grapes and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Absolutely.
We ready to go on a buried treasure?
Yeah, let's do some buried treasure.
Do you want me to start this week?
Danae, start us off.
I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to give a quick update on Dexter and then talk about a podcast that I'm hosting on. So I'm going to do 2 quick
Also,
ones.
you need to let Andrew know if you've watched the thing that he has suggested 2 weeks in a row that you watch and that you have agreed that you would watch.
Andrew, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Andrew?
Yeah.
What was the name of that thing again?
Flashpoint Paradox.
I gotta write that down in a place
you
I don't lose
even
it.
know what it's called. That is the worst.
It is the worst. I'm the worst.
Flashpoint. FlashpointParadox.
Yeah.
Flashpoint Paradox.
Do you mind if I go first this week? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So my buried treasure is actually going to be a book. It's actually a book series.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm using it as my buried treasure is because they're going to be making a movie series about this book series.
And it's already one of your favorite books?
It's my favorite media of all time.
Whoa.
More than any movie, any
this is like a big
any
reveal.
TV show, any music. This is my favorite thing ever.
Is it fantasy?
Yes.
Can I make a guess?
Yes.
Is it Aragon?
No.
Was that what it's called?
Yeah.
My boys were reading Aragon. Yeah.
And it's a book series I've been reading since the 90s.
Oh, is it the one with the mouse?
No.
The one with the mouse?
It's Stephen King.
Okay.
Is it Dark Tower?
It's the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
They're doing the Dark Tower series?
They're doing the Dark Tower series, and it's one of the most controversial films being made right now.
Wow.
Because Idris Elba is going to be playing Roland Deschain. That's controversial because in the book series, Roland Deschain is white, Idris Elba is not. And from what everybody's saying, that the movie's not really going to follow the progression of the story. It's going to be its own thing.
How do you feel about all that?
I'm nervous.
Yeah?
I'm really nervous.
I think we're always nervous with things we love, right?
Yeah.
Like anytime somebody touches something that we cherish.
I was nervous about
I was nervous about Finding Dory.
Yeah.
Because I love Finding Nemo so much.
Oh, that movie was good.
Yeah, Finding Dory's great. So you never know, and that's one of the reasons to keep an open mind. But
so for those of you out there who do not know what the Dark Tower series is, it's Stephen King's Lord of the Rings, pretty much. A lot of people don't know this, but Stephen King books have an expanded universe. They're all connected. So you'll see characters from It pop up every now and then in like 11/22/63, or people from The Shining show up in Misery. And
crazy.
if you haven't read all the books, you just think that they're people that they meet along the way, but it's all connected.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason why they're all connected is because of the Dark Tower series. And
so it's basically the Stephen King expanded universe.
Yes, exactly.
That's really smart of them.
And another interesting thing is that it's not just Stephen King books that you find in the Dark Tower series. He pulls the most iconic things from media and he puts it in the Dark Tower series.
So it's Stephen King's Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
It's kind of
honestly,
what it is.
You have characters from Harry Potter in the Dark Tower series. You have characters from The Wizard of Oz. You have characters from everything.
Wow.
And from The Gunslinger, the first book, I think the books are Gunslinger, Drawing of the Three, The Wastelands, Wolves of the Kala, Song of Susanna, Wind Through the Keyhole.
Do it.
Then,
you got this.
Then the final book's The Dark Tower.
That was impressive.
And there's one more book, Wizard and Glass,
Nicely
which is my
done.
favorite.
Round of applause.
I did it, ladies
Round
and
of
gentlemen.
applause.
So
that was good.
That was impressive.
It's the only book series I've read that after reading the whole thing, I actually called in sick to work because I was so messed up that it was over.
Oh,
And
you had to have like a release.
Yeah, because of the way that the book ends, it's one of my favorite endings of anything ever. And the fact that they're making it into a movie is really exciting. They're filming it right now in South Africa.
Very cool.
They've been releasing photos from the set.
Oh,
and if
buddy.
you follow me on YouTube, I'm sorry I'm plugging right now.
No worries,
go for
do
it.
it.
But if you follow me on YouTube at Flick Freaks, every now and then I'll post videos about the progression of the movie. So if you want to know what's going on, since it's my favorite thing of all time, I'm definitely going to be following it very carefully.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. What about you, Danae?
Well, I started watching Dexter, and I decided I can't watch it anymore.
You can't watch Dexter anymore?
Yeah, I decided it got to the point I can't do it. It got to the point.
I get it. I totally understand.
There's a backstory to why Dexter is the way that he is.
Yeah.
And in the first season, there's several revealing moments, flashbacks that he starts to have. I'm already a little uncomfortable watching somebody kill people.
Can I ask how far you got?
What? Danae?
Yeah, but
she didn't get far enough.
But I think it's kind of like the like any of the other murder mystery.
Mr. Robot was the same way for you. It was too dark. It was
but all these shows amplify murder and they bring it to the forefront and talk about it and solving murders. There's so many different shows out there, and I've watched many of them. But for some reason, Dexter's just like it's so like the murder that Dexter witnesses when he's a kid is the most horrific thing I've ever seen with my own eyes. And I know that it's fake, and I know this is just a show, but it is so realistic and so disturbing that I don't know that I want to keep going
into that world.
Yeah, because
No, I get it.
the reason that he's even triggered to have these horrible flashbacks is because of another horrible murder scene that he has to go into. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
The room 103 is what I'm talking about. When he goes into room 103, it messed me up a little bit. I mean, it didn't mess me up like 7. 7 messed me up so bad I couldn't speak for about 2 days. I just that movie took me.
One of the darkest movies of all time.
Yeah, and I can't. That's one of the reasons why movies I get really nervous about going to them, because they mess with me. And
did Fincher make 7?
Way.
Yeah,
is that a Fincher film? Okay.
So anyway, update. I think I'm done with Dexter.
Okay.
I just want to let you guys know. But I also want to let you know
Did you finish the first season?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I waffled at like episode 13. I think I'm on 13.
Okay.
And I don't know if I can keep going.
Yeah, don't. There's no reason to.
But I did guest star on a podcast. Aaron was on the Horrible Movie podcast last week.
I was.
I'm guest starring this week.
Hey!
So I got to watch the movie Krull, which is a high fantasy sci-fi movie from the 80s, and it was
some of the best special effects you'll ever see.
Oh, I know Krull.
Epically, amazingly, horribly incredible at the same time.
Yeah.
And we just
so
go
good,
into
so
it.
bad it's awesome.
I had such a great time recording it, and I started listening to it this morning, and it was a lot of fun to listen to. So
we love Jack. Jack's one of our gurus who's on the podcast sometimes. So
yeah, guys, thanks again for having me on, and go listen to it. It's the Horrible Movie Podcast.
That's right.
Which you can find on iTunes and Stitcher and
Google Play Store, anywhere you find your podcasts.
Aaron, what's your buried treasure?
My buried treasure, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with So You Think You Can Dance the Next Generation.
Dance.
The reason is I was really excited about a couple things with this. Number one, kids doing amazing things always impresses me. Like I'm always just like, how is that 10-year-old doing that? You know, like how is that? You know, like
the
whole
pianists
Prodigy.
are the one that really get me because their fingers are teeny tiny. How are they doing these incredible? You know, what are they called? Sonnets? I'm not sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So to watch these kids dance is impressive. I also love that Maddie Ziegler was going to be on it as a judge. The weakest part of that show for me has always been the judging panel, and because I just don't think they have a good sense of what makes.
Is that the Sia girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's the one, and so she's going to be, and because she's younger and she's a kid dancer, she was going to do it. But
I think I remember you guys saying that once before that she was going to be on the judge.
So I was excited about that, and it turns out she's just not that great of a judge. Like, and that's nothing against her. Like some people, that's just not what they're meant to do. But
she's another Paula.
It is. It's just more like everything's great and a lot of cliches.
You know, I really liked your music. I love the music. The costumes were so good.
You're so pretty.
You're so pretty.
Yeah. And
would you honestly want a little kid seeing another kid being torn down though?
But but see, here's the thing.
Could be constructive.
You can lose.
No. You can be constructive, and I've seen judges do it well. And I think if Maddie could have used her, because I'm sure she has expertise on this stuff.
She's been dancing her whole life
to find tune on some stuff.
But
I love
10,
judges.
So dancing her whole life's really. I'm not saying she was amazing.
Maddie's like 15 or 16 now, isn't she?
Oh,
but still, she's young. But, for me, my favorite judges are judges like Harry Connick Jr. or Ben Folds from The Sing-Off, where they know a lot and they find ways to be, constructively critical, and you learn something from them. I want to learn something about dance from these judges. I don't want them to say things I already can tell myself.
But she is 13.
So you don't like
13.
the Howie Mandels or the Sharon Osbournes,
where they just like the yes and people.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
This is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I can
it.
decide that myself.
You
Tell me
blew my
something I
mind.
don't know. So I've been a little bit disappointed in that. Having said that,
She's
such
13.
a beautiful Maddie is.
She's 13. So as a 13-year-old girl, I guess I can understand limited
sure.
vocabulary.
No, sure. No,
and lack of confidence.
And I didn't want it to be. I really didn't want it to be a tear on her. It's just
on judging in general.
Yeah, on judging in general. And but the show itself, I'm always in on the dancing. The dancing on that show is so emotional, so incredible. And to watch these little kids do it adds another element to it. I've cried more already in this season at So You Think You Can Dance than I have in all the other seasons. Yes, because mean, these kids are so powerful and their stories are so powerful. Keita, who is my favorite on the show, has this incredible, sit there and talk about Fiction, who won a couple seasons ago. To hear him talk about his father's death and how he wants to.
He feels the pressure.
He feels the pressure of that.
Becoming the man of the home.
Becoming the man of his. All that stuff just is really emotional and so
it's like me on The Biggest Loser. Like, oh God, it's makeover week. Here we go. Here come the waterworks.
I thought for a second there,
That's so true.
I was thinking like you were going on as a contestant. I'm like, Andrew, you're like totally fit. Like you would never be a contestant.
Like watching.
No,
like,
I get it
get
now.
emotional.
I get it now. I get it now. No, I do.
good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Makeover week, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the SiftPop podcast today. It is part of the Shoe the Dough podcast network. You can find out more about other live and later shows on the network by following the feed at mixlr.com/shoethedough. That's mixlr.com/shoethedough.
And then when you go that route to the show reel, you can listen to the pre and post show. You actually
That's
get to
true.
hear how this podcast is recorded on Mixlr.
If you're interested in how the sausage is made, that's
Yes.
where you want to go.
It does feel like sausage because there are sections to it.
That is true.
So that's true.
If you want to find out more about Aaron and Danae, you can check out aaronanddanae.com. Huge thanks to Andrew Ormsby from Flick Freaks for being here today. Send people where you want them to go, Andrew.
If you head over to youtube.com/flickfreaks, you will find Let's Plays, reviews, reaction videos, all the nerdiness that you could ever ask
Yeah.
for. If you want to find us on social medias, pretty much just type in your favorite social media /flickfreaks and you'll probably find us.
Much love and gratitude also to our Patreon supporters for giving monthly to make this show and others on the Shoe the Dough Network possible. Support starts at $1 a month. Comes with some pretty fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/shoethedough. Also, if you know of a podcast or have a podcast idea that you'd like to see on the network, let us know. All feedback is welcome at aaronanddanae@gmail.com. All right, I think I got it.
That's just what we do.
Just happened.